Okay, kindergarten friends. So, we are going to be making winter hats. You will already have a hat cut out for you with your name on the back. Then what you are going to do is you are going to use a white oil pastel to draw some lines that we have learned this year on our hat as designs. It might sound silly to use a white oil pastel on a white piece of paper, but then we are going to paint them, and the oil pastel acts as a resist, which means the oil pastel will keep the paint from painting where you've put your oil pastel. So I'm going to show you with a black oil pastel just so you can see it for the video, but you guys are going to be doing this step with a white oil pastel. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw some straight horizontal lines to break up my space first. Horizontal lines means they are going straight across, side to side. I'm going to leave some space in between them. With oil pastels, you have to press down kind of hard so that way when we go to paint over them, the paint won't paint where you've put your oil pastel. So make sure you're pressing down with some good pressure. Just like that. Then I'm going to start filling in these spaces with different lines and shapes that I've learned this year. So maybe in this bottom one, maybe I'll draw some curved lines. I did curved lines because the edge of this is kind of curved. So I'm kind of doing that same curve that's on the edge right here. Then maybe I'll do some zigzag lines. Stretching all the way to the top and bottom of that space. Then maybe here I want to do a shape, so maybe I'll do some rectangles. Maybe up here I'll do some jumping lines. Maybe here I want to make some stars. The way I make stars is I make an X and then I make a T on top. So you make a T and then an X, and then a T. Okay, and then I think maybe on the top one, maybe I just want little X lines. Okay, so again, you guys are going to have done that with a white oil pastel. So to show you what that's gonna look like, I'll go ahead and do that on my other hat now. Now remember, I'm pressing down with good pressure. I'm making straight lines across my paper first. Now, I know on the video you can't really see this, but in real life, you'll be able to see it a little bit. It's not like you won't be able to see it at all. So I'm drawing my curved lines at the bottom of my paper first. Now again, you guys don't have to do the same lines I did, the same lines that I did. You can come up with your own lines and shapes to put on your hat. I'm pressing down really good so it shows up when I go to paint over it. Now you can see I didn't draw any lines up here on the top of my hat, on the little puffball of my hat, because we're gonna do something kind of special on the top. If you can even see, I drew a straight line to kind of separate it from the rest of my hat. Because our next step is we are going to be painting, so you're gonna get a paint shirt, you're gonna get a table paper, and you'll get paints and a water bowl and a paintbrush. So we have all of these different colors of paints. You're gonna pick one of them to paint your hat. So if you pick orange, you could paint your whole hat orange, okay? But only one color. So I think I'm gonna pick this light green color. I'm gonna move these out of the way just for the video. Now remember, these have to get wet for them to work because they are tempera cakes, which is kind of like watercolors where they're dry and they won't paint until you get them wet. So I'm putting a little puddle in there first. Can you see I'm kind of making a little puddle? And then I'm gonna stir that together really, 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 really well. Remember, your colors will be brighter if the more you stir it. So if you think your color is looking really, really light, it probably means you need to stir it a little bit more. So now I'm going to start painting my hat, and you can see my designs are starting to show up. Now let me show you what it looks like if I didn't. You can see how bright my green is, but if I didn't stir my water in with my green enough, it would look more like this. And do you see how that's not very bright? You almost can't even see it on the video. So make sure you're really stirring your water in with your paint really, really, really well. So I'm gonna paint my whole hat with this green color, but I'm gonna stop where I painted or where I drew that line so I don't paint the top of my hat. I'm gonna leave that white, and I'll show you why in just a minute once we finish painting our hat. I'm doing my best painting and making this look really, really, really nice. You can see I'm kind of going back over spots that weren't as bright to make sure it's all super pretty and super, super bright green. All right, and you can see how cool my lines look on there. So now, before I do my next step, these actually dry pretty quickly. I'm gonna kind of set this aside for a second, but because before I can do the next step, I have to clean up all of my paint stuff. So if someone else at my table is still using the paints, I can let them use the paints. If everyone else at my table is done, I'm gonna put my paints back up on the sink. I'm gonna fold up my table paper nice and neat and put it back. Now we're ready to add our puffball on top of our hat. So these are ones I've made in years past. In this puffball, I did only dark orange and light orange for my puffball. In this puffball, I did only blues because my hat was blue. This time, because there's all these different colors I can use, I could do just the dark greens and the light greens. That would probably look really pretty on my hat. Or maybe I could do just blues. But you know what I think I really want to do? I think I want to kind of use all of the colors and do kind of a rainbow on the top of my hat. But if you want to use just a couple colors, that's okay too. So now I'm going to zoom in so we can see how I make my puffball. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your little puffball or your tissue paper, and then you are going to kind of wrinkle it up just a little bit like this. So you can just kind of pinch it in your fingers, or something that kind of helps me sometimes is I kind of put my finger on top of it like this, and then I kind of push it down over my finger like that. And then it kind of pinches it for me. Okay, so then I'm gonna put a little dot on my paper where I want that little puff to go, and then I can just kind of push it onto my paper. I don't want to push it down too much because we want it to be puffy. Okay, so maybe now I'll do another color. Again, I'm going to put my finger on top, and then I'm going to push it down over my finger. If you know how to just kind of pinch it without doing that, that's fine too. And I'm going to start filling up that puffball with these little tissue papers. And I'm going to try to fill it up as much as I can and put as many as I can on there. Don't crinkle it up too much. I've seen some friends that just kind of go like this and they're trying to glue down this tiny little ball, and that doesn't look as pretty as if you make some more puffy pieces. So like I said, push it down over your finger, or if you know how, you can just kind of pinch it, right? It's up to you. I think the finger, pushing it on my finger really helps me. Now you can see I really wiggled it in to try to fit it in that spot because I really want it to cover all those little spaces. All right, kindergarten, so there is my finished winter hat. Here are the other ones I have finished. I can't wait to see yours. Make sure you do your very, very best job and make these look super, super fun.